Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, California Weather Watch. Today is March 22nd. Right now we're looking at the radar loop here for the San Francisco Doppler across the Bay Area. And you can see that double-barreled low move onshore and then just kind of hang out as this low pressure system fills basically on top of the Bay Area, continuing to bring moderate precipitation amounts across the Bay Area. We'll watch this loop one more time here. As you can see, that double-barreled low there and there, moving onshore. Then it kind of consolidates into a main low pressure center there, moving over the Bay Area. And you can see the bent back occlusion just continuing to train moisture into the hills in San Jose, the Bay Area, and areas on south towards Monterey, for example. And yeah, a very unique system there. Just truly an amazing winter slash spring here so far for California. This is the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can see this system there developing and spinning over the top of the Bay Area as it fills. And as we go on through this morning, and notice it is still here, still bringing that precipitation as we go. But this will continue to weaken as we go through the day today. It'll eventually push off to the east here. There's still a thunderstorm threat as we go on into today for some areas. But for the most part, the storm is on the weakening phase here, and we are going to bring another system out of the northwest. It will bring some snow to some of the higher terrain across the Sierra Nevada here. And then on in through next week, we have the potential for yet another strong storm to develop off the Oregon, Northern California coastline here. We'll look at that in some detail coming up here in a moment. This is current hazards. You see the flood watches. There's some flood warnings going on. Still some winter storm warnings going on in effect. Winter weather advisories across a lot of the state here, but we are winding down, thank goodness. This is March 21st, broken daily rainfall records. Long Beach Airport, downtown LA, Burbank, Los Angeles, Lancaster Airport there as well. You can see the previous record year there on the right, continuing to break records here across the state of California this spring and winter season. This is San Diego National Weather Service highlighting some areas, and some areas got up over 5-7 inches of rain there. So pretty intense system all the way from the Bay Area down through Southern California. This is looking at total snow coming up here. Just wanted to show you this, that we are expecting some more snow as we go through Thursday on into Friday morning across some of Northern California here. Not huge amounts, but you will notice it if you're across some of the Sierra Nevada. But I mean, we're already setting records here, so it's going to continue to pile up, and then it's potentially going to get some more here as we go on in through next week as well, with another system setting up shop there that we'll look at here in a moment. This is day one thunderstorm outlook clips Northern California and includes mainly Southern California here. This is the surface-based Cape NAM3KM hot off the presses this morning. You can see the destabilization take place, and you can kind of see the spin in the atmosphere here as that weakening low pressure center here continues to fill and slide south and east across the state. So we go through tomorrow to see some destabilization occur as well across some of the Central Valley area. You can't rule out a thunderstorm with that activity as well. And now we're looking here at the European last night's run. There's our low pressure center filling here, and again pushing off to the south and east, the residual showers. And then we get the system moving into the Pacific Northwest. Looks like it's going to clip some of Northern California and the Sierra Nevada with additional snowfall as we go through Friday morning. And then we're going to deal with the next system there. We'll look at that here in a moment. Now, here we are. So this is currently, or as of last night, I should say, European on the left. This is the European of yesterday afternoons on the right. So we're comparing different European runs versus themselves. And you can see, of course, in the short term, there's good agreement with that system as it fills today and slides southeast. That system moves through the Pacific Northwest here and just kind of clips Northern California. But we get kind of a break here as we go through the weekend. However, by the time you get into a Sunday morning, you see that system developing off the coastline there. The most recent European has uptrended a little bit here with the strength of the system, but you can see it setting up shop off the Oregon coast, which means you can start to bring that fetch of moisture back into Central or Northern California here. And we'll watch this as we go day by day. We have a while to look at this. This would not be occurring until next Sunday or so. So we have a few days to figure this out and try to nail down some of the details on what kind of effects this storm system is going to bring to the state of California. Now looking here, this is precipitable water, and I just wanted to show this. Again, we're comparing last night's European versus yesterday afternoons, and you can kind of see it bringing that fetch of moisture towards the northern and central California coastline there, and then maybe sliding down as it goes on to the future. But it did uptrend a little bit here versus yesterday afternoon's run as well. So, we're going to have to start watching out for this one too. The last thing we really need is another even a moderate atmospheric river pointed anywhere at the state at this point. Now we're looking at the GFS on the left versus the GFS on the right. This is last night's run on the right, and actually yesterday afternoon's on the right, and last night's on the left here. So of course in the short term, that low pressure system fills, system moves into the Pacific Northwest, we get the tail end of that northwest flow. Bit of a break here, again, pretty good model agreement with that, and then you can see that system on the GFS developing here as well. A little bit weaker on last night's run versus yesterday afternoon's run out there, but it doesn't mean much at this point. It's going to change probably multiple times here as we go towards this weekend coming up here. But you can see the GFS and the European both have that system off the coastline there. The GFS may be a little bit further south, shown there. You can kind of see this thing again hanging out for a while here as well. You don't like to see that with this low pressure center there, just kind of hanging out. We want this thing to kick out as quickly as possible. But again, we have plenty of time to look at that. This is looking about that general time frame, and you can see that fetch of moisture kind of extending towards California. And again, this is a ways out, so we're just kind of looking in the tea leaves right now. But again, it looks like another system may be on its way. Now here's the Canadian versus the European. The European's on the right, the Canadian's on the left. And you can see general agreement on where this storm is going to set up. Oregon, Northern California coastline. And this would be out towards next Monday here. So the storm is going to be developing probably during the day Sunday off the Pacific Northwest and kind of dropping south a bit. This is looking at the Canadian, also showing that atmospheric river potential going towards the state of California, with the European here being on the right and the Canadian here on the left. So, yeah, not something we want to see, but we do have a few days to prepare for it at least. Now, this is percent of average precipitation. You can see Pacific Northwest have been relatively dry, but look at the state of California. Almost the entire state is pretty well above average here from December 21st through March 20th, except for the extreme southeast portions, the desert areas out there. Now looking at 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, you can see the bullseye here as we go through March 31st across the entire state of California, Nevada, a lot of the West Coast. 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, you can see the bullseye there. They're catching on to that system potentially next week, showing up there. So that is the reason for this above average signal there. So 8 to 14 day temperatures goes through April 4th, and again with a below average across much of the West Coast. 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook, and you can see the bullseye just seems to never end here for the state of California. So we'll see how this trends over the next few days. This is risk of heavy precipitation, an experimental product here, and you can see it does exist for some portions of California with that atmospheric river potential coming up on through next week. Risk of heavy snow, you can see it does include Sierra Nevada and the Siskiyous here. Risk of high winds, mainly just Northern California, excuse me, as we go through April 4th, with the potential for additional systems coming down there. We'll watch that as we go. This is strictly fantasy at this point. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you guys are witnessing history here across the state of California. Again, we're going to be talking about this winter/spring season for decades to come here across the state. And I mean, yeah, the low pressure is still there, still bringing that precipitation as we go through the day today. And I know that a lot of wind damage has occurred with that system as well. So I know it's probably going to be a few days before we get the full effect of what actually happened and just how much damage there was with this storm. I mean, it kind of resembles a hurricane a little bit if you look at it. Kind of had an eye there on it as it spun across the Bay Area, and it's, taking its sweet time to get out of there. So there's still going to be some flooding concerns with this. But anyway, yeah, we'll just continue to break this down. Hopefully we can get things sorted out in this break coming up here and try to nail down those details with that next storm coming up here next week. But until tomorrow, we'll just continue to watch it. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. We'll see what the new model runs have to say. And yeah, so hope you guys are doing all right out there. Stay safe. Try to get yourselves cleaned up here before the next round of weather looks likely on in through next week. So anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.